Welcome to the show, guys. Happy Thursday. Entering NFL Week 6. This is the starts and sits episode and also full preview going over all of the matchups here, discussing what the over-under is, going into a deep dive here. And on the show, we've got the great and powerful Jim. What's going on, Jim?
Hey, how's it going, counselor? I'm ready for week 6. I'm pumped again because I had such a great week 5. I'm hoping that momentum carries into week 6 and my teams continue to improve. So happy about that.
It was a very good week 6, and I ended up winning without Herbert. Jared Goff carried me in one league. Brock Purdy carried me in another league, looking pretty good. It was a good week for sure. And week 6, we're going to talk about all the matchups right here, right now. Again, going over the spreads, going over the optimal starts on each team. Before we get into this, though, Jim, I've teamed up with Better.app, BETR.app, a new way and an exciting way to play DFS, guys. It's ultra exciting. Now, if you guys go and sign up right now, use code FFC. That's BETR.app. Use code FFC. Go sign up right now, guys. I will DM you my optimal plays for this week. That's pretty amazing, Jim. I'm going to give them the answers, and they can potentially 100x their first entry, guys. This is amazing, and they'll double your first deposit. So you get a lot of perks with that code. FFC is the code, and it's BETR.app. We've teamed up with Better.app. Go create an account right now and DM me on Instagram and with the word Better, BETR, and I will send you my optimal plays this week, guys. I think it's a good deal, and we're going to crush it this week with DFS, all right? Go create an account right now. All right, Jim, let's dive into this, guys. If you're new to the channel, smash that thumbs up. Really helps the channel if you hit that thumbs up, guys. Smash it, tap it, slap it, whatever you want to do. Just hit the thumbs up here. And drop a comment below if you have any questions. Jim and I will dive into a couple. I know I'll be diving into a couple comments here as well. And if you guys want direct access, you can also, hit me up at, let me just turn this off here, at the front lines, the fantasy front lines at patreon.com/FF Counselor, guys. Join the front lines. Right now, you get direct access to me. So those are all the plugs here, but they're important plugs. It's going to help you guys win. It's going to help you guys succeed, and that's what I'm all about. All right, Jim, let's just start off with the Thursday night matchup first. I mean, I'm not going to be I don't know. I'm going to be watching it just for, I don't know why I'm going to be watching this. I probably won't be. Thursday, Broncos, 1-4 Broncos, 4-1 Chiefs, -10.5 favorites are the Chiefs. Now, if you guys are watching this on Saturday, fast forward past this part because this game is over. We do release this on Thursday. For Thursday, it's relevant. If you're watching on Saturday, just forward to the next matchup here. What do you think of this matchup, Jim?
Well, I got to say, man, to me, this looks like a blowout game. Obviously, that's what the line is showing as well. And so I would minimize your exposure to Denver Broncos players. I don't think it's going to be a very good game for them. I know Jaleel McLaughlin had a really good week last week, but I would bench him this week. You got potential Javonte back in the game. And also just the fact that it's going to be a negative game script for Denver. They're not going to be running the ball a lot. It's going to be mostly pass happy type offense. So, just be careful about starting Broncos. But as far as Kansas City goes, I think Mahomes is good. Kelsey's good. Of course, obviously. Pacheco, I would start him. And if you want to take a chance, roll the dice on Rashee Rice in your flex. Dude's been good. He's been very good. And he's been getting touchdowns. So,
man. The Chiefs have an outstanding matchup versus position. I mean, this should be a blowout. I mean, 10.5 is being really modest here, I think, with this one. Especially being at home, Chiefs being at home. And I don't know what's happened to Russell Wilson. I mean, I saw him scramble for a couple runs, trying to be the old Russell Wilson. He's done, man. He's faded. He's not coming back. It's done. It's over.
Yeah, it's always sad when you start to see these players age out, but he is in his mid-30s and so that's just kind of what happens. And I just don't think he has very good offensive assets around him. Jerry Jeudy is very mid. Cortland Sutton, there's just nobody there that really excites me for, offensive prowess. Mingo can do big plays, but he's hardly not Mingo. Who's the
Mims?
Mims, that's it. Yeah, Mims is good for some big plays, but he's not involved enough to be able to start in fantasy. So it's just it's just kind of a bad situation all around.
Yeah, I don't understand it, man. I think it's over for Russell Wilson. But you see a lot of other quarterbacks that have good careers into the late 30s and stuff like that. Unfortunately, Russell Wilson not aging well when it comes to quarterback years at all. So, yeah, I think it's over for him. I don't think there's going to be a big bounce back unless next year they completely revamp it, get some good wide receivers, bring in. I don't know. I think at this point it's kind of game over for him in his career in regards to having these amazing type years.
Yeah, they're going to have a really high draft pick, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them go quarterback. Go and just grab a quarterback.
All
So
right. So we got a 9:30 a.m. game. I don't know if I'm waking
another
up.
London game.
A London game. It's always funny watching these London games. I know all the fans mean well, but it's so funny because they're going to a Ravens Titans game, but everyone's wearing like different jerseys. They're wearing Buffalo Bills at the Titans, or they're wearing Colts at the Titans game. Like, they're going to be wearing all these different jerseys, but they're not even the teams aren't even playing there. And again, I think that the England fans mean well. They're showing their fandom, but I don't know, man. It's just weird seeing all these team colored jerseys at a Ravens at a specific team game. I always find that kind of hilarious. I'm like, okay, whatever. I mean, these aren't the teams that are playing, but you guys just it's their chance to get to an NFL game, and they're just really taking advantage of it. So again, Ravens 3-2 versus the Titans, who are 2-3. Ravens are a -4 favorite on the road here. 40.5 is the over-under. By the way, the other game, 47.5 is the over-under because it's going to be highest scoring blowout. This one is 40.5. Assuming Ravens defense keeps the Titans in check. We saw, Tajay Spears last week, run for a touchdown. I mean, I don't know how much of a concern that's going to be for Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's got to bounce back, but he's playing the Ravens this week. I mean, if you got him, how do you sit Derrick Henry? And obviously, Lamar's a start here. What do you think of this matchup here?
Yeah, for me, I got this game labeled as a bust game. I think it's going to be a very low scoring game. I got to say, I am completely underwhelmed by the Baltimore offense outside of Zay Flowers, who I think is fantastic. And Lamar, who you kind of have to start if you have him. I don't have him on any of my teams. And then Tennessee, obviously you start Derrick Henry. I think Tyjae Spears is a flex start this week as well, because if it goes negative game script, he's going to be more involved. Hopkins, you could start. But I mean, who else? Who else would you really start on either of these teams? I
Yeah.
can't think of anybody else. And like I said, I think it's just going to be a real low scoring game. These England games also there's a jet lag issue. Like last week, I knew that Buffalo was going to lose. I knew they were going to lose because Jacksonville had already been there for like 2 weeks
Yeah.
and was all accommodated and acclimated to the time change. Buffalo just came over last week. I'm like, they're vulnerable. They're probably gonna lose this one, and lo and behold, they did. So but I wouldn't expect much out of this game.
Yeah. In regards to Hopkins kind of coming alive last week, and Tannehill looking rough no matter what the situation is. But I mean, I really feel the Titans are now starting to integrate Spears a little bit more because he is the future. I think this is, like I said, this is the last year for Derrick Henry. The last year I would ever consider drafting him. I got him in one of my leagues. He's been okay, but this is it. This is the end of the line for Derrick Henry as well. And it's kind of sad because you see the King kind of falling. You see Russell Wilson kind of on the decline of his year. You see Hopkins not performing where they are. But then again, it gives opportunity for some of these younger guys like the Zay Flowers of the world to start budding and start stepping up. So yeah, I think I don't know if I'll be waking up and excited to watch this game. It's not on my list to do for Sunday morning. So I'll be tuning in, but not the scoreboard. But I don't know if we'll be watching much of it. Let's move on to the 1 o'clock games here. We've got the Washington Commanders 2-3 at the Falcons, who are 3-2. 2.5 point favorite are the Falcons. And again, I'm starting Bijan, but the problem here again, it's like Algier is out there way too much. He's getting way too many attempts. It's legit bothering me now. It's like legit getting under my skin. And it's really hindering the maximum performance out of Bijan. And you saw Drake London, who wasn't getting the ball till literally like the last quarter of the game. He's like, oh, I'm going to finally throw to my best wide receiver, my only wide receiver. It's ludicrous, man. In regards to Washington, I mean, if you got Howell, he's been pretty safe. You got to consider starting. He had a great week last week. What do you think of this?
Yeah, I mean, this I've got labeled as another bust game. I just think it's going to be a low scoring affair. Atlanta's not really built to score a lot of points. Obviously, Bijan is a start. And I think Pitts and Drake London, you kind of got to start him if you have them.
Yeah.
But I really wouldn't start anybody else on that team. And then Washington, oh, man, I mean, it's just it's just such
Yeah.
a tough call. I mean, obviously, Scary Terry, you go ahead and you can start him. John, is it John O. Smith is no, I'm sorry. John O. Smith is on Atlanta, right? John O.
Yeah.
Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'm sorry. I would start John O. Smith. I think he's getting enough volume that you can actually start him. He's clearly involved in the offense, so I think that's really good. But on Washington's side, Brian Robinson, you start him. I'm not excited about anybody on these teams outside of Bijan, and I do hope that they give the ball to Bijan more. But I got to say, even though Algier has been involved, he hasn't done a whole lot since week one. He gets like 40 or 50 yards or whatever during the
But he's
course of
getting
the game.
17 attempts. That's the problem. He's getting 17. He doesn't deserve to touch the ball once or twice. He's getting more attempts than Bijan. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's going on with that. I want to see. I hope Bijan gets more involved in the passing game this week. He only got like 2 targets last week, but he's usually been getting about 5 or 6. Hopefully that will go back up as well. We'll see. But like I said, I don't think there's going to be a lot of points scored here, so I don't think there's much. There's going to be much fantasy production from either of these teams.
Algier, 17 rushing attempts, 40
Right. Right.
yards, 2.4 yards per carry. Like the 17 rushing attempts, that could easily go to Bijan. Like, why aren't I don't know, man. If I have a Lamborghini and I'm going to a race, okay, like we got a Lamborghini and I'm not taking my old Dodge from '86. I'm bringing my brand new Lamborghini to the race. You guys are in the race now. You're gonna want to play your best players at this point. They're squeaking out wins. And they're going to run out of luck if they keep playing this Algier card who's running for negative yardage. It makes me angry, and I hate seeing it. So it better end this week. I better not see any Algier, or you know me, I'm going to lose it on social media. This is the week. This is the week.
Yeah, I mean, they need to be giving him 20 touches a game. I mean, there's no reason why he shouldn't be getting 20 touches.
Yeah,
So yeah, I mean, just do it, Atlanta. I mean, I just think maybe their strategy is they want to preserve Bijan. They want to make sure he's still in top form every week. But
yeah.
I think they are underutilizing him right now.
I
So
think a lot of teams are underutilizing their players. It's ridiculous. They're playing players that are just not as good. Start your starters. Start the guys you've invested high draft capital in. Play them. Give them the targets. Like Quentin Johnson, right? He just is not getting the ball. Like Mike Williams is out. Throw to your first round pick. It makes no sense to me. So
I mean, with Quentin, I just think he just hasn't done it. He hasn't earned the trust of Justin Herbert, and
no,
that's the thing. He's got to earn it, and he hasn't earned it yet. And he's got to step up. That's on Quentin. So he's got to become a reliable target for Justin Herbert, or else he's just going to sit there as the 3. I mean, he's still the number 3 receiver on that team.
that's
So
ridiculous.
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, all right, moving on to San Fran at Cleveland. Christian McCaffrey fumbled last week, played a tough defense, still managed to muster up 14 points, something like that. Now, being the best player in fantasy, has a tough matchup versus Cleveland's rush defense. San Fran is 5-0. One of the only 5-0 teams, along with I think it was the Eagles. Sorry, New England. Yeah, New England is definitely not
New
5.
England is definitely not.
I was thinking England and Eagles. It's too early in the morning. 5-0 San Fran, -6. They are favored here at 2-2 Cleveland. Like I said, I think Christian McCaffrey's got it in tough here. Debo, I mean, he's been kind of hit or miss this year. I mean, if you got him, you got to start him, right? I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. And when you look at Cleveland, do you even care? Like Jerome Ford, I would say start him, obviously, if you got him. Amari Cooper. I mean, at this point, I think it's start your starters. But again, Cleveland has it in a little tougher than San Fran.
Yeah, I just think even though Cleveland does have a very good defense, I just think this San Francisco offense is so good, and it's just going to wear them down. They're just going to stay on the field, and they're going to wear them down the whole game. And when it all is said and done, they're going to just end up blowing out the Cleveland Browns. So on the Browns side, yeah, I'd only start Cooper and Jerome Ford. I don't even think Deshaun Watson's going to play, so that's not good. But on San Francisco, there's a lot of offensive assets there, and I think Brock Purdy, again, you can start him. The dude is efficient, and damn, I mean, I mean, is it too early to call him the next Tom Brady, a guy that comes out of nowhere and just dominates the league? He's so good at it. Part of it's the system, part of it is the assets around him. But wow, 4 touchdowns last week. Jeez.
I think his parents, I was reading somewhere, I think it's Brock Purdy. I was reading somewhere that his parents have some sort of furniture store. So they have some sort of store And on Sundays, they can't attend to the store, so they gotta put a clothesline going to a football game or something. So, like, his family's still running their business, living this normal life, not realizing, like, well, finally starting to realize that their son's gonna be a superstar, and they may not even have to work for the rest of their life, right? So, it's pretty wild how he kinda came out of nowhere, success story. I kinda like that underdog out of nowhere kinda story. So, exciting for Brock Purdy. 4 touchdowns last week against a relatively tough defense. And again, now you're going against Cleveland. I think he's got it in a bit tough again. Interesting to see how they do on the road. Cleveland coming off the bye week. And again, for this one, what is the over under? I got to pull it up on this one here. It's 37 and a half. So Vegas thinking it's going to be a low
Yeah,
scoring game.
low scoring. That's surprising. Okay, and what's the and how much is San Francisco favored by?
I got it up on, I guess you can't see it on your screen, but it's -6 is San Fran favorite. They're favored
Okay,
by
all right.
6.
Yeah, so they're saying it's not going to be a very good game for fantasy with that low point total, but I think the San Francisco players will be fine. Although there is going to be just the natural volatility of who's the one that they're not able to lock down, and that's the guy that's going to get all the targets.
Yeah.
One week it's McCaffrey, another week it's Debo, another week it's Algier, and then like last week it was Kittle. With the 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So it's hard to it's hard to stop that offense because there's too many good assets around him. So, but yeah.
All right, next matchup here, a disappointment. One of my guys been disappointed. We were both kind of high on him. Is Damian Pierce playing New Orleans? New Orleans, he's got it in tough. So we got the New Orleans Saints 3-2, -1.5 favorite. Saints are favored on the road at the 2-3 Texans here. And again, the Texans, it's been really weird. I mean, you got Dell having good games, and you got Collins having good games. CJ Stroud's been consistent, and the Saints, Alvin Kamara, I think he ended up getting a touchdown last week. So again, with this one, I've got no Saints stock. I know you, Olave got a touchdown last week. Obviously, you got to start your Olave, right?
Well, yeah, and hopefully he gets some more volume. Over the past 2
Yeah,
weeks, he's only gotten like 4 targets, which is just ridiculous.
not
Part
good.
of that is because Carr is dealing with that shoulder injury, but that injury is like getting better. And so hopefully he'll go back up to like getting his 10 targets a week, which is what he was getting before the injury. Um, as far as Houston goes, I think they are probably the biggest surprise for the most improved team during the offseason.
Right.
CJ Stroud looks great. CJ Stroud looks like a guy you could start on any given week. It is a little tough to trust who's going to be the one on that offense that's going to get all the volume. But Nico Collins, Tank Dell, I think is in concussion protocol, so I think he's out.
Oh, is he out? Yeah.
Yeah, but Pierce has been getting the volume, and I mean, if you got him, I think you got to start him. So
And that's ridiculous for Dell to be in concussion protocol. He should be playing because if you look at that, he just came down with a catch. Didn't look like anybody touched his head. Then he was out of the game. Like, how are you out of the
well,
game?
he might have banged his head against the turf
Ah,
when he came down. That's
I don't know.
that's usually what causes that. But
He looked
yeah, I
fine.
mean, you just want these players to be safe. If he needs to take this week off, he does, and then he'll be back next week. And that's what I'd rather see than to have lose him for the season. So yeah, and then on New Orleans side, Kamara is a good start. Olave is a good start. Michael Thomas is a good start. Uh, who else would you really start on that offense, though?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's it. Just
I
your
think that's
basic
about it.
starters. That's it. That's
Yeah,
it. Even I don't even trust Carr. Like, I mean, unless if you have a 2 quarterback league, maybe, but I mean, I don't trust him. He's been very inconsistent as well. I
he
don't
has been, and yeah, I would not start him for sure
Derek Carr, been I don't
because
know.
Houston's defense is pretty good. So yeah,
Yeah, what do you have? 16 point, but then he had a 4 and 8 point the week before. Last 3 games been very inconsistent, just under 30 points in those games. That's ridiculous, you know? Derek Carr, 3 games, 30 points, unacceptable. He's got, like, again, mid-range matchup on paper, but very, very inconsistent. And then I got a question here. He's not been able to do it with his old team, but is he going to be able to take them to the playoffs? And I really don't think so. He's not a playoff quarterback. He's only made the playoff, I think, once. He's never won a playoff game in his career.
right.
That's something we're going to be monitoring this year, especially when they paid him the big bucks that they did after him doing nothing for 9 years. I'm going to be watching this very closely as we get towards playoff time. Can he make the playoffs? And if so, can he win an actual playoff game? Something to watch.
Right, right.
All right, moving on here. Carolina 0-5 at Miami, who is a 13
Oh boy.
favorite. Again, another matchup, man, where it's like for fantasy, this is good. Now, Devin Odchain is out. I don't know how long he's out. He's going to miss
Right.
multiple weeks.
Yeah, he's going to miss a few weeks. He's got an ankle injury, which is I cannot believe the numbers that guy was putting up. He was putting up like 11 yards a touch on average for rushing the ball. It's unbelievable. Um, but I mean, come on, all over this. And as far as if you're looking for a streaming defense, Miami defense I think is good this week. The Carolina offense is just terrible. Outside of Adam Thielen, I don't think you can start anybody. And then on the Miami side, start everybody because they're all going to be good. It's probably going to be another 70 to 20 kind of game.
I'm looking here. Are we gonna be starting, is it Jeff Wilson, the back? Like, or who's it? Mostert? Mostert should be playing, right?
Mustard, you'll definitely play. I think I thought Jeff Wilson is still on IR.
Is he? I don't
So
know. They might pull him up,
even if
though.
he's coming off of IR, I wouldn't start him this week. Just go with Mustard. He'll be fine.
But I think Wilson is gonna step up. I think he's good to go. He was one of the top waiver wire pick. Again, I don't care for Wilson, so that's why we didn't mention him. I don't know, man. He's not a guy that's going to, like, I don't wanna waste waiver wire, FAAB. FAAB, it's hard to say that. Free agency acquisition budget on Jeff Wilson. I don't trust him. And Archie will be back in a few weeks, I'm sure. So, yeah, in regards to this, man, again, Miami should just light him up. Yeah, man, I don't trust anybody from Carolina, especially we talked about this rookie quarterbacks always being suspects. So, yeah, I mean,
Yeah. And what's the line? I mean, how much is Miami favored by right
13
now?
and a half, 13 and a
It's
half.
gotta be- I was going to say 14, but okay, 13 and a half. Yeah, I'd probably take that. I'd take the over on that.
I think with ease here, especially being at home, the way they've been playing. So,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
all right, next matchup here, we got Seattle at Cincy, and now Joe Burrow's alive, and Jamar Chase is alive, and T. Higgins has got that rib injury. Really good chance. Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, I would say, again, are we trusting Joe Burrow to finally start? I would say yes at this point.
Yeah, I think he's finally back. I was very much encouraged by what we saw last week. I think it's going to be a great game for fantasy, both sides of the ball, man. It's going to be like start whoever you got from these teams because there's probably going to be a lot of points scored. I'm excited to see it. I would love to see another 19 target game for Jamar Chase. That would be amazing. Let's see if he can do it again. T. Higgins is still going to be out. So yeah, let's go.
And Kenneth Walker, he's been pretty solid all year. That again, I kind of messed up on the Kenneth Walker thing a little bit, hoping that Zach would get more volume. They actually ended up using Kenneth Walker way more. So good on.
Yeah,
Kenneth.
I mean, it's been basically all Kenneth Walker, but we have seen a slow increase in Charbonnet's usage. And if anything happens to Walker, Charbonnet is like a plug-in RB1, I do believe. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, Walker's looked really good this year. So
Coming off bye week.
he was my favorite player last year. I don't know why I would think that he wouldn't be one of my favorites this year, but he looks great.
Well, he
So
showed some injury last year. Then he showed some injury in the
right.
preseason, and then they invest high draft capital in Charbonnet. So it just seemed like Charbonnet was going to be more like a 60-40 in Walker's favor, and Walker would go down. But Walker's not gone down yet. So, I mean, who knows? They're coming off a bye week now, playing Cincy. It's going to be interesting to watch. This one's going to be entertaining. I think it'll be closer than people think. Again, 2.5-point favorite out of the Bengals, and it's a 44 and a half over under. By the way, the Miami
Really, that seems low. That seems very low. I would take the over on that. I think both these teams have excellent offensive assets. There's gonna be a lot of points scored here. I can see lots of lead changes during this game. I think it's gonna be a really good one. So
yeah, I mean, Seattle here, again, being on the road, coming off the bye week. And again, Jamar Chase in the groove now. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. So I'll be watching. It's a 1:00 game. I'll be tuned into this one a little bit just to see if Jamar Chase is actually taken off or was last week a bit of a fluke. No, I think that he is the main guy and he's going to be fed. So, and again, we talked about Jamar Chase having more upside than Jefferson being out now. Man, I went on social media going crazy with that Jefferson. We'll talk about that when we get to the Minnesota game in a second here. One sec. All right, so Indy, a divisional game here, 3-2 versus 3-2. This is going to be locked up pretty tight here. Anthony Richardson on IR now. So Richardson's out. Bring in the Chew. I think the Chew is starting. The Minshew.
yeah, Minshew, and he's a quality backup, man. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a good backup, and probably an expanded role for Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
Obviously last week, if you started him, you got burned. I think he's going to
Very
be
upsetting.
fine this week. It was just his first week back, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I see this as more of a lower scoring game. Even though there's lots of good offensive assets here, I'm kind of I'm kind of struggling to say start
45.
everybody, but
Jacksonville -4 favorite, and they're 4.5. 4.5. Sorry, 45.5 is the over under on this one. So
okay. I mean, yeah, that makes sense. Like I said, I'm surprised that over under is higher than the Cincinnati Seattle game, but whatever. Okay.
Vegas
But
knows something.
Jacksonville, obviously, Trevor Lawrence has been one of the bigger disappointments for me. I was really hoping he was going to take that next step. We have not seen it yet. Last week was a good week for Ridley. I like that. He should be good. You're going to start Kirk. You're going to start Etienne. Etienne's been great. Evan Ingram. You can start all those guys. But I just think it's going to be kind of a mid game, and I would bench Trevor Lawrence until we see something more out of him. If you got a better option. Like if you got Purdy and Lawrence, I'd start Purdy,
Yeah, for sure. It seems
Um,
way more efficient, even though Ridley had a decent game last week. ATN's coming alive though too, and Bigsby again. I was wrong on him too because I thought he'd get more work. He looked really good in preseason. I guess ATN's really got to go down for Tank Bigsby to go.
yeah, I mean, obviously, Etienne is playing at a much higher level than Bigsby is right now, and but I would still keep him on my bench because if anything
Yeah,
happens to Etienne, he's going to be startable. So
for sure, and
that's
he's
where I'm
good.
at on
I
that
think
side.
given the volume, I think he's really good. He's a between the tackles guy, strong, powerful goal line guy. They just need to give him more work. That's all.
Right, exactly. And on Indy's side, Pittman's good. Jonathan Taylor, of course. I would even also start Zach Moss again. I mean, I don't know how they could just bench Zach Moss with as good as he has been playing.
I hope they do. I
So
hope
I
I
think
don't
it's
see him
probably going to
again.
be a split backfield there, but I think they'll both be decent.
I
But
hope I don't
I
ever
think
see Zach Moss on the field again. Honestly, to be honest with you, I'm
how
so
how could you take him off the field when he last week he got 165 yards and one or two touchdowns? I mean,
I don't know.
the
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't get how he looks so good when he's never looked good before. And you know, that's football.
That system knows how to run running backs. That's why Taylor, give him the volume, he's gonna be a top running back. Just give him
Right,
the
right.
opportunity. All right, next matchup here, 1-4 Minnesota versus 1-4 Chicago. I mean, how do you even pick a a winner here? Like -2.5 is Minnesota at Chicago. I mean, with this one, man, I gotta say Madison does have a good matchup. I mean, I really think the Vikings do have a good matchup. Jefferson's gone. Also, I want to talk about Jefferson, man. We talk about regression candidates and guys that have had years to wow us for a long time. And then, it could only last for so long, right? There's years to wow us, we're not wow, but there's also years to wow us. When are you going to be due, right? So he is due. He's out, and he's very inconsistent. Like he was inconsistent last year. That's why we faded him, along with the fact that he was coming off pinnacle years. But now he's basically screwed your team because he had 5 points last week. Heading into week 6, you don't have him for 4 weeks. This was your first overall pick. I took to social media and I put the consensus and the Sheeps' analysts on blast last night. And it's like, man, like you guys all were on Jefferson, but you're just strictly copying and pasting. Really.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. It's hard to predict injuries in general, but this is obviously devastating. Jefferson's biggest issue was always his consistency. He just had a real problem with it last year, and that's why I was constantly choosing both Tyreek Hill and Jamar Chase over him when I was in those situations. But this is very good news for T.J. Hawkinson, for Jordan Addison. And I think also, who's their
Osborne.
third?
Osborne.
Osborne. Yeah, I think Osborne. Uh, I'm sure he got picked up in every league, but maybe check your waiver wire to see if he's sitting there because I think he's going to get some volume too. And as far as this game goes, I think this game's going to be a blockbuster game for fantasy. Neither of these defenses is any good, so I think there's going to be a lot of points scored here. Should be a good day for players on both these teams. So
Yeah, only
yeah,
44.5 is the over under here. But yeah, could be a high scoring game for sure.
that seems low, but
Yeah.
I mean, I think both are going to do fine. It should be an entertaining game, so I'm looking forward to seeing this.
But from again, I'm more fantasy for sure. But from a reality standpoint, a lot of these matchups suck. Like let's move on to the next one here. Again, we've got let me pull it up. It's New England 1-4 versus 2-3 Vegas. Vegas 3-point favorite here at home. and 41.5 is the over under. Not a high scoring game. Patriots have looked absolutely terrible this year, and it's just it's not an exciting team I want to watch. I mean, at this point, Stevenson is droppable. Some people are asking me like, should I drop Stevenson? I'm like, yes. I'm like, I wouldn't even draft Stevenson. And remember how he was going off like second round pick, and as soon as Zeke came onto the roster, I'm like, nope, Zeke sucks, but he's good enough to be a pest. Sure enough, he has been, and it's been a disaster with this team for fantasy.
Yeah. This offense, who could you even start?
Go
There's
on.
not a single fantasy player that I can think of that I would want to start um, at all. There's nobody. And so it's like, I think Las Vegas definitely has the advantage here. I think this is going to be a blowout as far as being at Las Vegas. I would start, obviously start Josh Jacobs, start Devontae Adams, start Jacob E. Myers. Jacob E. Myers looks really good.
Yeah.
Um, and but yeah, New England, just I wouldn't start anybody. I wouldn't drop Ramondre, but I would definitely just keep him on my bench until we see something more out of him. But I don't think there is going to
34.
be much more out of him because the offense is so bad. So
Last week, Patriots 34 nothing. 34 nothing. I mean,
right.
let me see what many rushes Stevenson had, because I haven't been 8 rushes, 24 yards, and that's it. Not even one reception. Zeke Elliott had 8 rushes, 21 yards, averaging 2.6 yards per carry. Stevenson 3 yards per carry. I mean, this is just it's terrible. I don't even know what word to use here. How bad they look.
Yeah, I mean, they lost 34-0 last week, and the week before it was like 37-3 or something like that. This is just about as bad a situation as you can have, and I just don't see any way out. They don't have any good offensive players, and it's finally caught up with them that you don't have Brady there to pull magic out of his hat and turn nothing players into something. So it's just a bad situation for them this year, but they'll get a high draft pick, so maybe they'll get a new quarterback.
Shows you how much he really carried them, because if you think about it, like, their team has always been this crappy. I mean, they have always had like mediocre play. I mean, you can't say it. They had a couple guys through your Wes Welker, a couple of decent players in the past here and there, obviously. But they've always been kind of like scrappy players. They never had like as of lately, like years before, players that really, really shine, and Brady made them shine. You know what I mean? And I don't know, man.
Right.
I've always stayed away from them for fantasy. Now, I continue to stay away from for fantasy, and now it's, coming to fruition, right? Like, stay away. Our next matchup here, Laporta time. I don't know if Amon-Ra is coming back this week. I haven't looked at the report here. What's the deal with Amon-Ra? I haven't looked, but
I think he's still questionable,
yeah.
so you're going to need to check. But if he's good to go, you start him. I mean,
Yeah, three
uh,
point favorite, 4-1 Lions versus 3-1 Tampa Bay. This one's gonna be entertaining. It's a 4:30 match, 4:25 Eastern time. And I'm going all in Laporta. Jahmyr Gibbs, hopefully he's back. He's good to go. Are they still going to be using Montgomery? It looks like they will be, but how
of
much?
course they will. Of course they're going to be using Montgomery, man.
It's been brutal, man. I don't know. Like, you move up, you get him in the first round of Jahmyr Gibbs. He's ultra explosive. He looks amazing. He looks better when he touches the ball. Yet you're not using him. And there's been so many memes out where like people are handing people food or something like that. That like, and he's just not. His plate isn't getting full. Like, they're just not feeding him. And like, there's all these different memes out with Jahmyr Gibbs and just him not getting the ball. They gotta feed Gibbs, man. I don't know what else to say. Again, similar to Atlanta, I think they're squeaking out wins sometimes, not utilizing their best players. I think he's going to catch up to them if they don't use their first round picks at running back. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. But this just looked to be the same kind of way they're utilizing the backfield this year as how they used it last year. Except it was Jamal Williams in the
Yeah.
role that Montgomery's in now. So they're both going to get utilized. But if Jahmyr Gibbs is injured, he's not going to be involved that much. For me, it's kind of tough to want to start him this week, but you might need to. I would like to just keep him on my bench until we see some more volume. He just needs more volume in order to be effective for fantasy.
Yeah.
But and I know that Goff had a really good game last week, but Goff always plays well at home. This is an away game, so I would move him back to the bench if you got him on your team. And then as far as on the other side of The other side of the ball, Tampa Bay
Evans.
looks to be a good game, man. I think Evans is going to be back. Godwin should be good to go. Um, and White, Rashad White, can play him. But that's all I'm looking at for Tampa Bay's side.
Yeah, yeah, it's going to be a good game, I think. And again, when you look at your starters, even though they have tough matchup, you look at the like, for example, Philly, right, versus the Jets. On paper, I've got my app here. DJ Moore, or sorry, not DJ Moore. AJ Brown actually has a tough matchup for his position against the Jets secondary. Brandon Ayuk, right, San Fran versus Cleveland, tough matchup on paper. But do you sit your starters and you just, if they're a wide receiver one on your team, you got to start them. That's the way I'm looking at it. You just have to.
Right. Yeah. And just don't expect a whole lot, but they should still be decent. They're going to get decent volume. AJ Brown's been great. He's looked really good
He's the
past couple
one.
of weeks. And here's something else. When we're talking about draft strategy, when you look at the three early wide receiver twos that were selected in the draft this year, Waddle, um, um,
Higgins.
Devonta Smith, and T. Higgins, all those guys have been absolutely horrendous for fantasy.
Yeah.
Horrendous. Just inconsistent because they're playing with a wide receiver one that gets over a 30% target share. So they're massively inconsistent. They're getting hurt a lot because they're smaller guys and just generally just terrible picks. And so if you just went ahead and ignored them, your team is in pretty good shape because you've got some better players that are more effective than those guys are.
Yeah, we warned against this. We warned about these wide receiver twos. All right, we got three more matchups here. We got 1-4 Arizona at 2-3 Rams. Not going to spend too much time on this. Other than, did you pick up? How do you say his name? Amari from Arizona.
Amari DeMarcado.
We can't pronounce
Yeah.
names. Everyone's going to rip us on this. Like what? Yeah, he's brand new. Came out of nowhere, fresh. I actually applied for him on the waivers, so we'll see how he does. I mean, with Connor being out, why not? Especially with that thin running back position. I'm like, go for it, grab him.
Yeah. The other backup running back on Arizona, I cannot think of his name, but he's dealing with a neck injury. So I'm guessing it's going to be all Amari this week. So it should be a good volume play. He should be really good for fantasy. So hopefully you got him if you claimed him on waivers.
We're thinking Rondell Moore. I think Rondell Moore had 3 rushes, 50 yards.
No, Rondell Moore's a receiver.
Or what am I thinking? But he got rushing. Sorry, what am I thinking here? I'm looking at the rushing leaders, and he was a rushing leader last week. I'm way off here. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you got to start him. There's no one else in that committee. James Conner had 6 rushes, and then Amari came in and he had 10 rushes at 4.5 yards per carry, and 11 was his long, including a touchdown. So they're going to use him. Like I said, if they're using Rondell Moore to be their rush, he had 50 rushing yards, Rondell Moore last week. So again, it is what it is. I'm going to go with DeMarco there. Or what do you call Amari? How do you pronounce it? DeMarcado?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. We're brutal. We have 0 Arizona stock, so I haven't until I start him. Now I'm going to know. Remember the name, right? It's people that come out and like, remember their name. So Amari's a guy you definitely want to pick up this week because, again, they have no one else there. So when you take a look at this backfield, James Conner's out. Amari's a consideration. And then with the Rams, I mean, you had that split
I start everybody, man, for the Rams. The one person that I think is really taking a hit, though, with Kupp coming back is Tyler Higbee. Who I would bench if you have him, start a different tight end until we see some better volume. I think he only got like 2 targets last week. But between Kupp and Puka, man, they're taking all the pass volume in this offense. So there's nobody else there. But I see this as a blowout. I think the Rams are going to blow this one out. They've looked better than expected. I think Stafford, you could start him with those
Great
2
matchup.
receivers. He's going to be fine.
Great matchup for Stafford this week. Great matchup on paper.
Yeah, and then also Karen Williams, I think he's going to be good, the running back. So I'd start all those guys. On Arizona's side of the ball, I mean, Hollywood Brown has looked good. He's been getting good volume, so start him. And then Amari DeMarcado, definitely start him. But that's all I would start on that side.
All right. Now we are at Philly at the Jets, and the we got Breece Hall at 5-0 Philly versus 2-3 Jets. Jets at home, 7-point favorite is Philly here. And Breece Hall coming off that breakout week, he does have it in tough against Philly's rush defense. So I want to make that clear. But how do you sit Breece Hall after that? You just can't.
Yeah, I mean, you don't sit Brees Hall. He's going to get the volume. He's not on a snap count anymore. Dalvin Cook is nothing. He's not doing anything on this team, which is what we said was going to happen. But it's not going to be like last week, man. Denver is one of the worst teams in the league against the rush. Philly is not like that at all. So I would not expect him to have a game like he had last week, but he should still be good enough. It's going to be negative game script too. So I think Garrett Wilson, obviously, you're going to start him, but that's all I would start on the Jets side of the ball.
All right, moving on to the Giants and the Bills. Again, now you've got a Sunday nighter, which again is not interesting. 1-4 Giants, 3-2 Buffalo. Buffalo 14-point favorite here, over under 44.5. But again, another blowout here. Really, blowout.
Yeah, I mean the Giants don't have Daniel Jones. I don't know if Saquon's going to be back, but even if he's back, do you want to start him? I mean, I guess you kind of have to, but I would not be excited about anything he's going to do. There's no one else on the Giants that I would even consider. Maybe Waller, right? Maybe Waller if you got him as your tight end. But on the Buffalo side, yeah, it's going to be a blowout, man. Start all your Buffalo players. I think they're going to be good.
And I got pissed off at Saquon last week because when you think about it, okay, he's crying the whole offseason. I want to get paid. I want to get paid. I want to get paid. He gets paid. He didn't get the mega contract, but he got paid, and he can't stay healthy. And it's his ankle. My ankle's sore. Like, I understand injuries linger, but you're still a good shape. You're in great shape. You're young. You've got all the money in the world. You've got all the technology. You've got all the best doctors. You've got all the best physio. Get on the field, and especially I don't care if your ankle's a little banged up, just play it out. I don't care. I mean, he's had weeks to heal. Like, you know what I'm saying? Even with Eckler, a guy like Eckler, I guess we're talking about aging running back sometimes, it happens, but I mean, utilize these guys. Now he's their best player and he's not on the field. Now
Yeah,
they
but
still have chance.
I
They're
mean,
done. They're done. Their
if
season's
he's
done.
going to be completely ineffective, I don't want him out there because he can't run because he's got a bad ankle.
They're done now.
And yeah, Saquon. It's always been an issue with Saquon. He's always had injury risk. Last year was a contract year. He made it through the whole season, didn't get injured. He looked great, but now he's back off of that contract year, and it's back to what has been an issue during most of his career. So
And that's why he's pushing for a contract, because he knows his body. He's like, I got to push for a contract, lock these suckers in, and that's why they only
right.
did him for 1 year, right? So
Right, and yeah, but he just needs to get healthy, and he'll be back out there. But like I said, I don't even want him out there this week. I don't even want him out there because he's gonna be terrible, even if his ankle is fine, because this team is terrible and there's no quarterback. So
yeah,
I don't even know who the backup quarterback is for the Giants,
yeah.
but
Daniel Jones, he avoided major neck injury, by the way. It could have been really bad. He avoided a major neck injury. So
yeah, but still, it's a neck injury, so it's going to be something he's going to be out for a few weeks probably. So it's just garbage. I don't even want Saquon to play because if he does play, he's going to be terrible. And I don't know. I don't know. It's just not good. Not
Tyrod,
good.
it's Tyrod Taylor, by the
Oh,
way.
Tyrod Taylor. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's as far as I know. All right, last
Yeesh.
matchup here. We're gonna wrap this up. 3-2 Dallas, 2.5 point favorite against the Chargers, who are 2-2. This is gonna be entertaining. Herbert's back. Are they gonna use Quentin Johnson? Probably not. We don't know. But obviously, Keenan Allen's a start. Austin Eckler's supposed to make his return back, and then you've got Dallas. I mean, Pollard had a rough game last week, man. Really rough.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, they were playing San Francisco, so what do you expect? But yeah, I think this is going to be one of the best games of the week for points. I'm like start everybody you can on both sides of the ball because I think it's going to be a lot of offensive fireworks. And it should be a good game. Should be fun. And I don't know. I think Chargers are going to pull out the victory because Dallas is just Dallas can't do it. They get a little whiff of success and then it's like
Yeah.
they go to hell. So,
All right, guys. Thank you for following. Start your starters for the most part. Go back, check the teams, I did timestamps below to check the team that we talked about here. And drop some questions below if we missed anything. Love to get that feedback to you guys. Week 6 is here. Can you believe it, Jim? It is here. Let's rock it out.
yeah, let's do it, man. So good luck in week 6, everybody. And oh, by the way, check your waiver wires today to see if any decent players were dropped. We're in bye weeks right now. There's only 2 teams on bye this week, just the Packers and the Steelers. But next week there are 6 teams on bye. So look at your roster. Look at how many people are going to be off, and can you properly cover those spots? If not, maybe go to the waiver wire, pick someone up now so you don't have to worry about it next week. But anyway, definitely do
Awesome.
that.
All right, guys. Appreciate you. Enjoy week 6. We're out. We'll talk soon.